Welcome, lady. What's on the spit? What's for supper? All right. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the 21st day of the 68th Wyoming Legislature in the House, February the 11th, 2025. I trust everyone. It looks like we've got a good full House moving in, and we still have more legislators coming in. So, with that, Chief Clerk, please call the roll.
Convening roll call for Tuesday, February 11th, 2025, the 21st day. Alamand. Andrew. Angelos. Banks. Bear. Brady. Bratton. Brown Gary. Brown Landon. Byron. Campbell Elisa. Campbell Kevin. Chestick. Clouston. Connolly. Davis. Eklund. Erickson. Filer. Geringer. Guggenmass. Haroldson. Harshman. Heiner. Heft. Jarvis. Johnson. Kelly. Knapp. Larson Lloyd. Larson JT. Lawley. Lean. Locke. Lucas. McCann. Nicholas. Ottman. Pendergraft. Posey. Provenza. Riggins. Excused. Rodriguez Williams. Schmid. Sherwood. Singh. Smith. Storer. Strock. Stivar. Tarver. Thayer. Washut. Wasserberger. Webb. Weber. Wharf. Williams. Winter. Wiley. Yin. Mr. Speaker. 60 present, 2 excused.
Just out of curiosity, has anyone seen Representative Singh this morning in your travels? Because otherwise we can go ahead and close, because that would be good. Close. Okay, very good. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, this morning our prayer will be led by Rabbi Zalman Mendelson, Shabbat Lubavitch, I'm doing okay, of Wyoming, all the way from Jackson, Wyoming. So if you all please rise, he's going to lead us in prayer this morning. Welcome, Rabbi.
Good morning, and thank you, Speaker Nyman, for your kind invitation to be here at this special occasion. Almighty God, Master of the universe, we stand before you in this hallowed chamber, seeking your wisdom and your blessing upon this distinguished body, our Wyoming House of Representatives. Grant these honorable men and women entrusted with the sacred duty of governance, the clarity of mind, the strength of character, and the unwavering commitment to justice that their noble responsibility demands. May they be guided not by partisanship, but by purpose, not by division, but by duty, to uplift the lives of those who they have sworn to serve. Though we may come from different walks of life, we gather here bound by a common sense of mission, to seek the good, to champion the just, and to build a society here in Wyoming worthy of the values upon which our God-blessed state was founded. Let our representatives' deliberations be marked by wisdom, their discourse by dignity, and their decisions by the pursuit of a better tomorrow. As my revered teacher, the Lubavitcher Rebbe of blessed memory taught, the world was created in perfection, yet human frailty led to its failings, and still it is through human kindness, through acts of goodness and righteousness, that we bring divine light into this world, transforming it into a dwelling place for God, preparing it for the ultimate redemption. The Rebbe also noted that it is remarkable that we can begin our session here in our House of Representatives with prayer, yet tens of thousands of our children in Wyoming public schools are not given the opportunity even for a simple moment of silent reflection. My mentor initiated a project that, if implemented, has the potential to positively transform the lives of our young children. A meaningful moment does not impose any specific religious practice, but allows every child, regardless of background or affiliation, to reflect, pray, or meditate in their own way. This initiative does not force prayer upon anyone, but instead grants children the opportunity to connect with their parents' values, their parents' purpose, and something greater than themselves. Each child is invited to begin their day with a moment of silence. What should the child do during that moment, you ask? The answer cannot be provided by the school or teacher. Every child instead is encouraged to ask their parents. One parent may tell the child to think about God, the creator of the universe. Another parent may suggest the child think about life's purpose. A third may encourage their young boy or girl to think about what they can do to help others. I pray that this august body considers this initiative as an antidote to childhood depression, school violence, and the breakdown in parental-school relationships. May this house be a beacon of justice and compassion. May those who legislate do so with hearts attuned to the needs of every citizen, especially the vulnerable, the forgotten, and the poor. Bless them, O Lord, with wisdom, grace, and courage. Let them remember that the very process of enacting just laws is in itself a fulfillment of your divine command, a reflection of the sacred 7 Noahide principles that guide all of humanity. Today, we lift our voices in prayer for peace in our state, in our nation, and indeed throughout the entire world. We ask for the swift and safe return of those being held hostage in the terror tunnels of Gaza, including the American young men and women, for the protection of our brave men and women in uniform who stand in defense of our freedom, and for the triumph of righteousness over darkness. May you bestow upon these esteemed leaders good health, compassion, and joy. May they carry out their sacred charge with honor, bringing dignity to the great state of Wyoming and glory to your holy name. And may we soon see a time of ultimate peace, when swords shall be beaten into plowshares and the world shall be filled with the knowledge of God as the waters cover the sea. Amen.
Thank you, Rabbi Mendelson. Fellow members and guests, please join me in the salute to our flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Rabbi. Those are shown. If you're feeling well enough and want to visit, shake hands, extend the right hand to fellowship, please do, and then we will get this day underway. All right, members, let's go ahead and get things underway here. Journal Committee report.
Your Journal Committee reports that the Journal of February 10th, 2025 has been read and recommends that it be approved. Representatives Jarvis and Posey.
Thank you, Reading Clerk. Ladies and gentlemen, as you can see, we do have a special event today, and so I think that is going to be taking place over in the Senate first and then the House, so we will be kind of waiting to see when that develops. We will be recognizing the Teacher of the Year, ladies and gentlemen, and so they'll be coming here to the body as soon as they get done in the Senate, so we look forward to that. And we'll just have to keep a weather eye on and see when that moves ahead. Messages from the Senate? None. Unfinished business, anything? None? Stay. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to do our introductions. We are at that order of business. Bills that will be introduced. Senate File Number 7.
Senate File 7, sponsored by Judiciary.
First reading of the bill.
Protection Order Amendments.
Senate File Number 7 will be assigned to Committee Number 1, Judiciary. Next Senate File for our consideration, Senate File Number 8.
Senate File 8, sponsored by Judiciary.
First reading of the bill.
Protection Orders effective during appeal or review.
Senate File 8 will also be assigned to Committee Number 1, Judiciary. Next Senate File for our consideration, Senate File Number 11.
Senate File 11, sponsored by Judiciary.
First reading of the bill.
Use of fraudulent documents to wrongfully possess property.
Senate File Number 11 will also be assigned to Committee Number 1, Judiciary. Next Senate File for our consideration, Senate File 143.
Senate File 143, sponsored by Senator Nethercott.
First reading of the bill.
Public monies, deposits, and credit unions.
Senate File 143 will be assigned to our Committee Number 9, Minerals. And that concludes introductions for today. All right, ladies and gentlemen, it is time for our special event. And you know what I'd like for you to do? I'd like for all of you to stand and welcome this person into our midst here in the 68th Wyoming House. Today we have the privilege of welcoming Wyoming's 2025 Teacher of the Year, Morgan Hahn. From Lander Valley High School, Ms. Hahn is a social studies educator. In 2021, Ms. Hahn was honored as Wyoming's James Madison Fellow, a testament of her unwavering commitment to civics education. She is a trailblazer in integrating technology with her district to enhance teaching, support students, and bridge educational gaps. Ms. Hahn's dedication to supporting her colleagues and reigniting their passion for teaching through innovative technologies is truly commendable. Fellow representatives, please help me in recognizing and celebrating the exceptional contributions of Morgan Hahn, please. Ms. Hahn, the House is yours.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, Wyoming House of Representatives, for having me here today. This is an immense privilege that I'm so grateful for. And I'd love to take a second to introduce myself. So I'm Morgan Hahn. I grew up in Douglas, and like many of you, I'm a product of the Wyoming education system. I'm gonna hold my notes up a little higher because this podium's really low compared to the other one. That's all right. I hold a bachelor's degree of social studies education and a master's degree in American history and government with a specialty in teaching the Constitution. I currently teach world history, U.S. history, advanced placement psychology, and advanced placement U.S. history at Lander Valley High School. This title is an honor to me, especially as a Wyoming kid who got to see the education system from the inside as a teacher and as a student. While I was in college, I spent a few years chasing the dream of college athletics in other states, and I'm really thankful for that experience because it gave me a little insight into other state education systems. It told me enough to know that I wanted to stay in Wyoming. So when I came back to UW to finish my degree and answer my calling to education, teaching jobs were few and applicants were many. But I pulled it off, and I'm really grateful that I did. It's allowed me to become part of a story of excellence. We have countless students who are serving honorably in the military, who have entered the workforce with the skills they need to be successful. And I've taught a bunch of kids who are gracing college campuses from CWC to Princeton. Indeed, we are successfully preparing every student every day to be successful after graduation. Another experience I had that gave me some insight was through my fellowship with the James Madison Foundation. This fellowship is comprised of a rigorous master's program that's allotted to one social studies teacher per state per year. So again, I found myself representing Wyoming. As part of the program, I spent a summer living in DC with 49 other fellows, and the experience was challenging and enlightening. And I'm sure you guys can relate to leaving our state and being met with surprise when you say you do not, in fact, ride a horse everywhere you go. But once we got the stereotypes out of the way, I got to be part of many conversations that highlighted the impressive work being done here in Wyoming. The amount of times that I was able to add value through suggestions to much more experienced teachers was staggering, and not because I'm anything that special. Rather, I'm part of a system that is special, and we have the numbers to prove it. Let's consider some statistics. Wyoming surpassed or tied national performance in every single category on the National Assessment of Education, or NAEPS test, since 2017. And I say surpassed or tied, we tied like a handful of times. Far and away, the majority of the time, we beat them. When they're older, we can look at the ACT. Wyoming is one of only 8 states that tests every single student. And this year, we led the pack in first place. I have to brag a little. My school, Lander Valley High School, beat even our high state average by 1.4 points. Thank you. Go Tigers. My point is this: Wyoming education is an effective, innovative public education system that is robustly and successfully preparing kids for the future. It's comprised of passionate, expert educators that put students first and balance innovation with what strategies we know work and implementing them accordingly. We hold fast to a Wyoming work ethic and do what needs to be done from kindergarten to graduation for kids to be successful. And of course, there's always room for growth. Until we have 100% of kids across the finish line, we have to keep chasing improvement. But here's the amazing thing for all of us in Wyoming. We see the faces these statistics represent. It's personal to every one of us. If there's a gap, we know their names. And when there's mountains of evidence for success, we're not surprised because we picture their faces. In fact, everyone in this room can think of kids that embody those successes. There are many. Maybe they're kids, grandkids, or just kids you recognize from the local paper or the ball game because you show up. That's what we do in Wyoming. We're there for each other, and we care. So I see high test scores, and I think of Ella, who's an honor student at UW, who's crushing it, and who I know is a devoted big sister. I see Braden, who worked a job landscaping for quite a few years to save for medical school, where he's currently thriving. And I think of Avery, and I heard all about her trials at boot camp, and now she's serving in our Navy, keeping our country safe. To me, this is one of Wyoming education's greatest payoffs, and certainly the most noble reason for we Wyomingites to work together for their success. As you know, it's one big small town. And when we work together, there's nothing we can't accomplish. By collaborating with each other, educators, legislators, parents, citizens, we can send an important message that education is valuable and they're in the best place to receive one. This is gonna look different in each role, but our goal is the same. So on behalf of teachers across the state, I'd like to encourage you to reach out to your local educators and grab a coffee. We'd love to talk to you. In fact, there's a cohort of excellent educators here today through the Level Up program who would love to chat. Whatever it looks like, I encourage you to make connections with the folks in classrooms and schools working with kids every day. Wyoming is in a uniquely successful place when it comes to education. The national narrative doesn't reflect this, but the numbers do. Our students' consistent record of success does as well. And personally, I'll take real data and real success and stories like Ella and Brayden and Avery and the countless kids that you're thinking of right now any day over the headlines. Wyoming is leading the nation in education, and I'm so optimistic about the future of us collaborating and ultimately rallying around kids to help them achieve even greater heights. So thank you again so much, Wyoming House of Representatives, for allowing me the privilege of the floor. It's an honor to be here today. It's an honor to teach our kids, and it's an honor to represent the profession I've been called to all my life. Thank you very much.
Thank you for joining us today, Ms. Hahn, and we wish you a continued success in your teaching career. And members, I would suggest that you think about it this way. I was told one time that if you think of the top 10 people that have had the most impactful position in your life, I can almost guarantee you at least 2 of them will have been teachers. And I think if you think right now, you can probably isn't very difficult to think of the people that through your educational process. My mom taught country school in a one-room country school. When she was 16 years old, she started teaching on a war bond in a little creek back of the ranch up in there with all 8 grades, 15 students when she was 16 years old. And I have siblings that are teachers and many people in my life that have been involved in education. And so I would challenge you to try to find a place in your mind where 10 people have been most influential in your life, if there's not at least 2 teachers in that group of people. So thank you to the educators that are here today. We thank you for your efforts and your work and sowing into the lives of our future in this state of Wyoming and all of your work. And I see a group of young people up here. We have a future and we have great opportunity in Wyoming and we do a wonderful job. So thank you for all that you do, unless you've been told otherwise, until you're better paid. Thank you very, very much for all that you do. All right, ladies and gentlemen. Reports from standing committees.
Senate File 1, sponsored by Appropriations, General Government Appropriations. Standing Committee Report. Your Committee Number 2 on Appropriations has reviewed Senate File 1 pursuant to Joint Rule 14-1, little e, 1 and 2. The following lists are provided. Identical amendments, 2005, 2011, 2026, 3002, 3003. The following are the other adopted amendments. 2001, 2003, 2004, 2006, 2008, 2009, 2010, 2012, 2016, 2018, 2019, 2020, 2021, 2022, 2025, 3001, 3006, 3013, 3015, 3020, 3028, 3029, 3030. Representative Bear, Chairman.
Thank you, Reading Clerk. Next on our agenda, ladies and gentlemen, I have to read my little thing here. I've got pull my tab up. Pursuant to Joint Rule 14-1F1, Senate File Number 0001 is placed directly on third reading for the purpose of explanation on the Senate amendments. All right, that's it, and we got more things in the script here that we're going to play, so that'll be later on this afternoon. So I just want to make sure we don't miss any parts of this. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, moving into the rest of our second reading bills. Bills on second reading. Yes, Representative Nicholas, please.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. So, ladies and gentlemen, there will be circulated around your desk a joint resolution in support of the good nation of Taiwan and its democracy. We pass this around about every year, so you'll just see it when it comes by, and then hopefully we'll get a couple of folks from their embassy being here later at the end of this month. So, thank you.
Thank you, Representative. Representative Williams, are you hanging fire right there? Okay, all right, then we will move on. We are at that order of business of bills on second reading. First bill for our consideration is House Bill 90.
House Bill 90, sponsored by Representative Davis. Anthrax Outbreak Protocol, an act relating to agriculture.
We have amendments. Representative Williams, that's why you were hanging fire back there at the microphone. Please proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move second reading amendment number 1 to House Bill 90. Ask for your favorable consideration. We amended this part of House Bill 90 yesterday, and this amendment, in my opinion, fine-tunes it a little more. Very quickly on page 1, lines 3 and 4, it takes out providing definitions. And on page 2, line 5, after anthrax outbreaks, it deletes the rest of that paragraph. And I believe we've already met the standard of notification in our current board-adopted protocol. And I look forward to hearing from the good sponsor of this bill, because I do believe this is a friendly amendment, but ask for your favorable consideration. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Williams. Representative Davis, for your first time.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, or Mr. Speaker, excuse me. I'm confused today. Yes, most generally, this is a friendly amendment. I don't disagree with page 1, line 3, or page 1, line 4. But if you look at yesterday's amendment, the verbiage on page 2, line 5 was addressed yesterday, unless I'm misreading this right. I believe we took that out of there yesterday and removed that. And so with that, I don't know, I would say we can go ahead and go with the amendment, but we removed page 2, line 5 yesterday, the same verbiage in there. So with that, I'd appreciate an aye vote on his amendment.
Any other members for their first time? No takers? Any members for a second time? Seeing none? Question? Members, you're being asked to vote on second reading amendment number 1 to House Bill 90. All those in favor signify by saying aye. All those opposed, no. The amendment has been adopted. House Bill 90, having been read 2 separate times, the question is, shall the bill be read a third time? Hearing no objection, it is so ordered. Next bill for our consideration, House Bill 111.
House Bill 111, sponsored by Representative Smith. Hit and run responsibilities and penalties, an act relating to motor vehicles.
House Bill 111 having been read 2 separate times, the question is, shall the bill be read a 3rd time? Hearing no objection, it is so ordered. Next bill for our consideration, House Bill 117.
House Bill 117, sponsored by Water, Omnibus Water Bill Construction, an act relating to water development projects.
Okay, we have amendments. Representative Davis, amendment number 1. Did we lose him? There he is. Representative Davis, you got an amendment that we need to be running right now if you're ready, boss. He is. Please proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Let's see, Speaker. On
You see
this,
fit? Yes.
this is a simple fix that was brought up before us yesterday, and it just basically has to do with the dollar amount, removing the 20 and inserting 5. Oh, excuse me. What's the amendment? Mr. Speaker, I move.
There you go.
Second reading amendment, nope, this is the wrong bill. Oh, second reading amendment number 1 to House Bill 117. Thank you. And in this amendment, all it simply does is remove the 20 million out and replace it with 5 million. And I would ask for a favorable vote on this.
This will be a roll call, ladies and gentlemen, once we get done with debate. Next member for their discussion. Any others? Representative Banks, first time.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, thank you. Just a question on what the rationale is behind this amount. I feel like we kind of came to a good consensus yesterday of this is kind of an emergency situation that's needed, and I didn't know if there was some numbers that were crunched and this came to a reasonable or amount or not. Just wondering what we're messing with the dollar amount for. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative. Any others for their first time? First time on the amendment? Seeing none? Back to the bringer. Representative Davis.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The rationale behind this is due to the construction season that we're going to go into and the enactment of this bill and everything like that. I think it's prudent that we take a small bite of the apple, see if the water does exist, and if this is something that we could actually look forward to. And if it is and does prove out, then we could possibly come back and ask for additional funding.
We done? Okay. Members are being asked to vote on second reading amendment number 1 to House Bill 117. Chief Clerk, please call the roll.
Allemand. Andrew. Angelos. Banks. Bear. Brady. Bratton. Brown Gary. Brown Landon. Byron. Campbell Elisa. Campbell Kevin. Chestick. Clouston. Connolly. Davis. Eklund. Erickson. Filer. Geringer. Guggenmoss. Haroldson. Harshman. Heiner. Heft. Jarvis. Johnson. Kelly. Knapp. Larson Lloyd. Larson JT. Lawley. Lean. Locke. Lucas. McCann. Nicholas. Ottman. Pendergraft. Posey. Provenza. Riggins, excused. Rodriguez-Williams. Schmid. Sherwood. Singh. Smith. Storer. Strock. Stivar. Tarver. Thayer. Washut. Wasserberger. Webb. Weber. Worf. Williams. Winter. Wiley. Repeat. Yin. Mr. Speaker, are there any changes? Andrew, aye to no. Haroldson, excused to no. Further changes? Guggenmoss, aye to no. Allemand, aye to no. Strock, I to no. Strock?
Representative, it's entirely up to you. You can declare conflict, you can change your vote right now if you feel like that's what you need to do.
Strock, no to conflict. Wasserberger? I to no. Locke? I to no. Further changes? Further changes. Closing vote? Vote closed. 46 aye, 14 no, 1 excused.
By your vote, you have adopted second reading amendment or number 1 to House Bill 117. Next amendment for our consideration, second reading amendment number 2 to House Bill 117. Representative Yin, please.
Mr. Speaker, thank you. I move second reading amendment number 2 to House Bill 117 and ask for your favorable consideration. So members, I got a couple of emails from the irrigation district. The well idea, I think, while well-intentioned, was a little bit off the cuff, but they still would like to figure out how they get relief during this time period. So the amendment, what the amendment does, is it splits it to a $1 million exploration for wells, and frankly, I don't think they'll even spend a whole $1 million to do well exploration, and then a $19 million, 2% loan program. So in the end, the state of Wyoming will still get paid back. The 19 million is also opened up, so it doesn't apply to just wells. It lets the irrigation district use it to explore other methods of getting a little bit more, whether it's surface water or wells or anything else. And it makes it easier for the district to manage in a way that gets a little bit more equitable for all of the stakeholders rather than just the places that might necessarily have wells. And with that, I will ask you for your favorable consideration. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Representative. Any members for their first time? Members for your first time. Second reading amendment number 2 to House Bill 117. Representative Strock, please proceed.
Thank you, Speaker. I would call this very friendly. It's just going to open up some doors for everybody. And, you know, mostly, I just want to clarify something there. Any of this trying to find some relief or help, we do know that this is, there's no assurance to any of all of us under this project. It's just some things that we can go ahead and explore and look at. As you all know, and I think we've talked about it many times here, water is a scarce source above ground and underground in this state. So I think this was just, and then there's other ways, there's river possibility, there's so many other possibilities. So I think that what's nice about this, it opens it up to look at different ways that maybe we can make it through, all of us can make it through the next few years. So they're talking, and the other thing I wanted to clarify, they're talking it could be 5 to 10 years, and it could even be longer before we would maybe see a dam. There's all sorts of things in this, as all of you know, any big project. So I would appreciate an eye on this. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Strock. Any others for your first time? First time? Second time, question being called. Members, you're being asked to vote on second reading amendment number 2 to House Bill 117. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Those opposed, no. Amendment has been adopted. Next amendment for your consideration to House Bill 117, amendment number 3, Representative Posey. Representative, please proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm presenting amendment number 3 to Bill 117 this morning, and it actually just deals with an extension for 2 water systems, one in the Ethity area and one in the Arapahoe area. And both the Arapahoe pipeline and the tank and the Ethity water supply projects are nearing completion, with the engineer expecting the projects to be completed in 2025. However, it appears there's a misunderstanding as to when the Wyoming Water Development Commission grant funds are to be reverted. The funds revert as of July 1st, 2025, but it appears it may have been interpreted that they was going to be reverted at the end of the year. There also has federal funds attached to this, and in any case, both projects will likely be completed after June 30th, with final closeout sometime between August 2025 and February 2026 for the two projects. Therefore, at this time, the Northern Arapahoe Tribe would need a time extension to complete the projects to July 1st, 2026, to ensure funds are available to complete these projects. I know they had a couple of extensions in the past, and I want to explain the process of right-of-ways, and it's confusing even to us. But to get right-of-ways across individual tribal lands, we got a deal called fractionation. And in a 40-acre piece of land, there could be 60 to 500 owners on that piece of land. So in order to get right-of-ways across certain tribal tracts, it takes a while. It takes years, obviously. But they got those right-of-ways all secured now. And there was just a misinterpretation in terms of when those funds are to be reverted. So all I'm asking for this morning is an extension for these two much-needed upgrades for the communities of Ethity and Arapahoe. So I ask you for your favorable consideration on this amendment.
Thank you, Representative Posey. Representative Larson, JT, for your first time.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. In favor of the amendment, I appreciate the good bringer's explanation of why the time extension is needed, and I think it's reasonable, and look forward to your support on the amendment.
Any other members for their first time? First time? No members? Second time? Representative Posey, would you like to close, or are you good?
I think I'm good. I just wanted to explain the fractionation part of the time issues that relate to tribal trust land. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Representative. Okay, members, you are voting on second reading amendment number 3 to House Bill 117. All those in favor signify by saying aye. All those opposed, no. Amendment has been adopted. The next amendment for our consideration, Representative Harshman, amendment number 4 to House Bill 117. Please proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd move House second reading amendment number 4 to House Bill 117. Members, this is in visiting with the member from Converse County and then additional input from members of this irrigation district, which I think I'll paraphrase the conversation with the irrigation district. They don't have a problem at all with recreation. And I think the good member from Converse brought up the idea of, it's the liability piece. And so that's what I changed this language a little bit as we worked through this process to kind of study this process. So instead of mandating it, but so on line 5, it says they shall then ensure the new dam is constructed. This was something, feedback from the member that Roman 1, ensure the new dam's constructed before the existing dam is decommissioned. And there's been an ongoing, it's my understanding, so I think that can be part of that, and it's supposed to be built downstream. Roman 2 is that the results of the study by the select water that review the ownership of this thing. If the state is going to own it, then the state will have to take on the liability piece. And I think that's part of our conversation. If it's a privately owned dam like it currently is, it's pretty hard to have recreation unless they work out insurance and do all those kind of things. There are private recreation dams in the state, certainly, but that's a different issue. So if it's a public asset, then that public liability goes along with a public facility, to study that part. And then study also on line 26, the possibility of hydroelectric power generation through the project, and then study the recreational opportunities, and then finally a review of the need to establish public access. And if you look at Highway 91, it literally touches irrigation district land, very close to state sections of land on that. So that's where the amendment's at, and stand for any discussion. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Representative. Any members for their first time? Representative Geringer. First time.
Thanks to the good representative from the middle of the state for bringing this and working on it a little bit more. I guess a question I would have is, you talk about the risk and the state taking on the risk. What about during, if the dam is not decommissioned, there's still the potential for the major event that the state engineer was worried about. And so is there a way to work in language that the state does take over even sooner, so that if the dam is not decommissioned, the risk lies with the state and not the district?
Thank you, Representative. Representative Strzok, for your first time.
Thank you, Speaker. First of all, I would like to divide this amendment, and just the first one would be from line, I assume 8 to 12 or 11, and then that would be one, and then the rest of it together. Division 2 would be
Your
everything
Division 1
else.
would be 8 to 11,
Yes, and Division 2 would be everything else.
the remaining amendment. That is divisible, yes. Which would you like to start with?
I would just like to start with the first one.
Division 1.
Division 1, I'm
Okay.
sorry. Thank
Please
you.
proceed.
And I will tell you, this has been our goal from the beginning, and to speak on that, to speak on some of the worries they may have, even just taking, we would still hold less water, and it would just give enough, and to explain some of how this district works. I will tell you, sometimes we are out of water by July 8th. We actually, some years, that's it. We are out of irrigation water because there hasn't even been enough snowpack. There is so much to this project. Some of this, I feel like putting it in, there needs to be some understanding of what we even have in this district and how much water we have or don't have. It's all snowpack, and I think most of you would understand this, but we don't, a lot of times there isn't even enough snowpack. And so the water level, even by July 8th, and what they're saying is we're not going to have the snowpack. So the fear of this dam breaking during construction would be less, because at that point, we've used the water. So I guess that's just one thing I wanted to explain, if we have been really pushing for us just to be able to bring down the level of water, or bring down the level of the dam if that was a fear, take the top bit off and leave the little, and that would leave a cofferdam. So that's why I was really, I love that top piece. If it could work for us, it would save everybody money on not decommissioning the dam. You wouldn't even have that money put into it. And then it would be just left there. The whole plan of the whole dam has always been to leave it, it's always been planned on building it below, and then there's leaving the dam there, the old dam. So I guess that was some clarification I just wanted for the body on that. Thank you.
Any other members for their first time? Ladies and gentlemen, you are contemplating lines 8 through 11 on the amendment number 4. This is Division 1 is what we're discussing right now. Any members for their first time? None? Members? Representative Geringer.
Mr. Speaker, I guess, again, I go back to my previous comments. If the dam is not decommissioned and there is that catastrophic event that the state engineer is concerned about, or the consulting firm is concerned about, if by requiring that the new dam be built, is that opening up the district to the liability of that catastrophic event? If the ownership, the responsibility, the liability remains with the district, and that event occurs, and we have said, don't decommission before that, is it going to open up the district to liability?
Other members for the first time, Representative Williams, Rodriguez Williams, Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. On and for Division 1, I appreciate the bringer of the entire amendment, including lines 8 through 11. Again, on and for Division 1.
Any other members for their first time? Seeing none. Second time? Back to the bringer? Back to the divider. Amendment 1. Amendment number 4, Division number 1, Representative Strzok, please.
Thank you, Speaker. To answer the question, yes, it would, but I'm also going to point out one other thing. They are already open to some liability by taking out the dam and the flooding that it's going to bring to the people below the dam. I'll just leave it at that. Thank you.
Members, you are being asked to make a decision on Division 1. This is lines 8 through 11 of second reading amendment number 4 to House Bill 117. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, no. The division has been adopted. Second division, Representative Strzok.
Thank you, Speaker. On this, my main thing is I don't want to complicate the whole water bill. We are very open to everything on this, so I would say, in some ways I would urge a no. I don't want to slow down the process of the building of the dam. And so, thank you.
Other members for their first time, Division 2, Representative Davis.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. As brought forth by the good bringer over here, it seems indication that there is no water to recreate in after July anyway. So if we're using the total reservoir, it seems like this would be just an exercise in, anyway, so on and against, or whatever, number 2.
Representative Harrelson, your first time.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. To the original bringer of the amendment, as I've been looking at plat maps and looking at ownership maps, I'm not seeing any access to the reservoir by the irrigation district except for in the choke point at the dam. And so I don't know if you can speak to that, but it looks to me like we have pretty much a single landowner that's locked the entire reservoir up minus just that dam portion and the rimrock country of that project. So I don't know if you could speak to that. I'm not opposed. I just don't know if that's exactly the answer due to easements and accessibility.
Any other members for your first time? Representative Washut, Chairman Washut.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm in favor of the amendment. It seems that we're going to put a significant amount of state money into this project. It'd be nice if we got some public use on the other side, and as well as providing for the necessary irrigation needs of the agricultural interests below the dam. And not knowing exactly where that new dam might be constructed, I think it's kind of hard to say where the access points may or may not be when that new project is completed.
Thank you, Representative. Representative Wharf, for your first time.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I guess I have a question about Division 2. I see this creating a study. I don't see anywhere where there's anything to pay for that study, and I I wonder if the bringer has thought about what that cost might be. So I guess that's a question that I have. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Representative. Representative, any other representatives for their first time? Representative Harshman, first time, please.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. As far as the question on the cost of a study, really, it's the commission together talking about this and looking at it. I don't foresee them hiring somebody for thousands of dollars. So, but you got to use the word that they're going to study this, so they'll talk about it. So no cost on that is my answer on that. The question on maps, on Highway 91, which runs right by it, and there is a section of that belongs to the district that touches the road, I believe. I mean, it is right there and touches the road, actually. That was one thing I was looking at. And then there are other school sections that are right there. And I think the good representative from Natrona County stated that when this thing is all kind of done, I think we'll know a little more too of that layout, but they're real close. Your question though is accurate. There's some land being bought up around it. There's no doubt, and the good representative from Commerce County knows all about it. But I think there is a little sliver there for that piece. But I think that the real issue, as we work this through second and third reading, it's a lot of public money. And I think to be in constitutional compliance, we don't just give money out, right? It's not ours to give away. And we got to be really careful with this. If we're going to say 107 people of this district get this 90 million or 120 million or whatever it's going to be, got to be really careful. And so I think if we can create a public benefit, I think it works really well for the project if we want to fund it through a direct appropriation. Now, there's other ways to fund it, certainly. We could do loans and public purpose investment, which we're allowed to do. It could certainly do that, or legislative designated investment through our permanent mill trust fund. So those are options too to explore on third reading. So I hope I answered those questions. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Representative. Representative Geringer, your first time.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Just a suggestion here. So and maybe a little bit of advice, I guess. There's in engineering projects that I've been a part of, anytime you can include multiple uses for the same project, it does provide value to the public. And so I think that's something that we ought to analyze and see if there is that potential, because we do create more beneficial uses for the public, to what the previous speaker was talking about. To a couple of speakers ago that said we're not going to have any water left to recreate, I guess I would suggest that after the dam is built, we would have water to recreate. And so that's where I see that possibility being, assuming that it's of the same surface area that we're talking about right now, that it's 700 and some odd acres. And as I mentioned the other day, there's another reservoir that I grew up with that's a third of the size, and it does provide recreation. And so there's those possibilities. What I would suggest though is I don't want any of this to impact the timeline for taking care of this issue. And so I would suggest that if we do pass this amendment, that we do insert some additional language that does say that this amendment is in no way intended to impact that construction timeline, so that it can run independently and there's no hang up with the overall construction process.
Thank you, Representative. Any others for their first time? Still on first time? None? Second time? Representative Lawley, there you go. Okay. Please proceed.
I was confused about whether we were already on 2 or 1, so thank you, Mr. Speaker. I just want to respond to the comments of the previous speaker about the importance of providing these kind of benefits to the public, and I agree with that. But that is part of the water development's process in approving these various projects. That's a very important part of that. And so I think that's what's missing here is this isn't going to go through that process. It's not going to look at that. It's not going to look at other things. And so adding it on at this stage in the process really kind of is part of the problem, in my view, that we have processes, they're really stringent and they look at all these things, but we're just kind of saying, we'll decide here right now in this room. And I just don't think that's a good policy. I think we have some really good processes in water development. And again, this is an issue they would specifically look at, is the issue of how it would benefit the public and the different things they can do. And they give analysis of that, and they bring in other agencies in our state that are responsible for those things to help as a part of that. So again, thank you.
Thank you, Representative. Any others for their first time? We're still on first time. Opportunity to speak to the Division Number 2, Amendment Number 4 to House Bill 117. Seeing none, second time. Any others want to speak second time? Second bite of the apple? Representative Harrelson, please.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Obviously, I think this is a good idea. I think that we need to definitely look into what this looks like. I think we need to be careful that we protect the primary function, which is an irrigation reservoir. So I think that it maybe is a situation where this needs to go down right now, and we need to take another bite at this third reading to put language in there that makes sure that our number one goal is to protect the irrigator and to protect the building of this dam. And then above and beyond that, can we make hydro? Awesome. Can we make it where people could go out there and bring their boats out and have some fun? Sure, absolutely. I think that those are all good things and things that we should really look at, but I want to make sure that we have language in there protects our irrigation districts first and foremost, which is the primary function of this dam and this body of water. And then above and beyond that, we could take another step. I live in that community that the good representative talks about. I'm 1 mile from that reservoir. We are literally, well, maybe a mile and a half, I guess. But if you want to go play on a reservoir, that's the reservoir we play on. It has a great function and great work, but we also understand that it is an irrigation reservoir, and you don't pull your boats up on shore at night because the next morning it will be 3 foot lower. We just understand that. And so I think that there could be a relationship between the recreator as well as the irrigator, but I think that ultimately we need to make sure we protect the irrigation rights and protect the building of this dam first and foremost, and then everything else we could see about stacking on above and beyond that. So I would say let's vote this one down. Let's take another whack at it third, and I'll be involved in making sure we can try find some language, and I'll get with the other good representative that grew up in my community. So, on and against.
Thank you, Representative. Any other members for their second time? Second time. Representative Harshman for his second time.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I think a couple things. A good representative from Washakie County. I think the process she talked about, I just want to be clear, we just approved part of this amendment detailing what's going to be constructed first. That certainly didn't go through any commission. We did that on that floor, and rightfully we should do that on that floor. So I bring this amendment to you in Division 2 particularly. I bring Division 1 because of the good representative from Converse County. Division 2 is brought to me by the people of Jackalope City. And that's who brought it to me. I mean, the folks in my area, we go west out to other reservoirs to the west. And so that's why I brought it. And then I would end, Mr. Speaker, and say, absolutely, as written, does not affect the timeline. I think the good engineer said that too. As this is written, does not affect the timeline at all of the construction of this dam. But I do think as we move into third reading, if there's not going to be a broad public purpose, I think we're going to have to examine the whole funding stream on how we fund this. So thank you, Mr. Speaker. Please vote aye.
Thank you, Representative. Any other members for their second time? Representative Strzok? As the bringer or the divider, I just want to make sure that you have the opportunity to speak. If you don't, so be it. All right, members, you are voting on second reading amendment number 4, House Bill 117, Division 2. Bearing in mind this is everything other than lines 8 through 11. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, no. No. Okay, chair's in doubt. All those in favor, please rise. You may be seated. All those opposed, please rise. You may be seated. The amendment has not been adopted. Division 2 has not been adopted, excuse me. 2237. All right. I believe that ends us on amendments for 117. Ladies and gentlemen, House Bill 117 having been read 2 separate times, the question is, shall the bill be read a 3rd time? Hearing no objection, it is so ordered. Next bill for our consideration, House Bill 123.
25.
Oh, 120, 125.
House Bill 125, sponsored by Representative Washit. Repeal unauthorized use of vehicle crime and act relating to motor vehicles.
House Bill 125, having been read 2 separate times, the question is, shall the bill be read a 3rd time? Hearing no objection, it is so ordered. Next bill for our consideration, House Bill 134.
House Bill 134, sponsored by Representative Guggenmoss. Taxpayer funds, sexually explicit events prohibited to, and act relating to the administration of government.
We have amendments. Representative Guggenmoss, Representative Campbell. Yeah, he was the bringer. Okay, let's keep this straight, Speaker. All right. Representative Campbell, please.
Good morning, Mr. Speaker. Thank you.
Good morning.
I would move second reading Amendment 1 to House Bill 134.
Please proceed.
Thank you, sir. This truly, I hope, is just viewed as a friendly amendment. I talked a little bit about this with the bringer last night. So on page 3, line 11, for our community colleges, it lists the oversight being from, or the determiner, those that determine these events as the Community College Commission, which is appointed. So this amendment just removes the Community College Commission and inserts the applicable community college board, because every community college has a board of trustees that has been elected. So much like the line above, when we reference the university and their board of trustees that have been elected, this just does the same thing and keeps those appointed or those elected to oversee our community colleges, the ones that would be making the decision. So hopefully this is viewed as a friendly amendment. We're just keeping it consistent in terms of our electeds, and would encourage an aye vote on the amendment. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Representative. Representative Guggenmoss, for your first time.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I do consider this a friendly amendment. The main goal is to keep accountability the main thing, and I believe this accomplishes that. So I encourage an aye vote. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative. Any other members for their first time? Second time, question being called. Members are being asked to decide on second reading amendment number 1 to House Bill 134. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Those opposed, no. The amendment has been adopted. That would be it. House Bill 134, having been read 2 separate times, the question is, shall the bill be read a 3rd time? Hearing no objection, it is so ordered. Next bill for our consideration, House Bill 136.
House Bill 136, sponsored by Representative Byron. Volunteer First Responder Health Insurance Revisions, an act relating to compensation and benefits.
House Bill 136, having been read 2 separate times, the question is, shall the bill be read a 3rd time? Hearing no objection, it is so ordered. Next bill for our consideration, House Bill 144.
House Bill 144, sponsored by Representative Nyman. County Canvassing Board, an act relating to elections.
We have amendments. Representative Webb. Representative Harrelson.
Thank you, Mr. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. At this time, I would respectfully withdraw amendment, the amendment.
Seeing no objection from the body, the amendment has been withdrawn. Okay, next, House Bill 144, having been read 2 separate times, the question is, shall the bill be read a 3rd time? Hearing no objection, it is so ordered. Next bill for our consideration, House Bill 165.
House Bill 165, sponsored by Representative Webb. ranked choice voting prohibition, an act relating to elections.
Okay, we have amendments. Representative, let me get over here. Representative Campbell, please.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move second reading Amendment 1 to House Bill 165.
Please do.
Thank you, sir. This truly is just to ensure we are not completely usurping the control from our local towns and cities and counties. So on page 2, starting on line 3 and running through 7, is just removing the phrase "any existing or future ordinance enacted or adopted by a county, municipality, or any other governmental entity that purports to authorize ranked choice voting in violation of this subsection is void." The concern is future, 30 years from now, who knows? So protecting the rights of our towns, cities, counties to do what is best for their community and based on the preferences of their residents. So if my community, my residents decide that for given a municipality election, we prefer this, say 10 years from now, for the state to say no to those residents, no to those citizens, we are not going to allow your preference, doesn't sit well, I think. So just removing that gives our towns, our cities, our counties the ability to do what is best by their residents now and in the future. So would encourage an aye vote on this one, just protecting the voice of those residents. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative. Any members for their first time? Representative Webb for his first time.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I would encourage a no vote to keep uniformity in our elections throughout the state. Thank you.
Any other members for your first time? First time? Seeing none, second time, back to the bringer. Representative Campbell, please.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I absolutely appreciate uniformity. And what we know in Wyoming is that what works in one community may not work well in another community. That's why local control is so important. What works well in Natrona County may cause harm in Goshen or Fremont County. So giving the control to those local municipalities to best serve their residents is what makes sense. And that's what Wyoming is all about. Would encourage an aye vote. Thank you.
Members, you're being asked to decide on second reading amendment number 1 to House Bill 165. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, no. The amendment has not been adopted. House Bill 165, having been read 2 separate times, the question is, shall the bill be read a third time? Hearing no objection, it is so ordered. Next bill for our consideration, House Bill 171. Reading clerk.
House Bill 171, sponsored by Representative Strzok, sexual exploitation of children amendments, an act relating to crimes and offenses.
House Bill 171, having been read 2 separate times, the question is, shall the bill be read a third time? Hearing no objection, it is so ordered. Next bill for our consideration, House Bill 176.
House Bill 176, sponsored by Representative Bratton, vacancies in public office amendments, an act relating to elections.
House Bill 176, having been read 2 separate times, the question is, shall the bill be read a third time? Hearing no objection, it is so ordered. Next bill for our consideration, House Bill 190.
House Bill 190, sponsored by Representative Lean, bond election language process, an act relating to elections.
We have amendments. First Amendment, Representative Yin. At your leisure, sir.
Mr. Speaker, thank you. I move second reading amendment number 1 to House Bill 190 and ask for your favorable consideration. So members, I spoke with the bringer of the bill and tried to figure out if there was a better way than having to ensure that the good secretary deal with an issue of what is true and impartial. And instead of having that situation, I basically create a cause of action. So if a qualified elector within the district, right, so someone who is going to be voting in that believes that it's not true and impartial, they can take it to court. And so that would be a better method, in my view, than taking it to the secretary. So with that, I ask for your favorable consideration.
Thank you, Representative. Any members for their first time? No members for their first time? Question being, back to the bringer. You want another, okay, back. Question being called. Members, you're being asked to decide on second reading amendment number 1 to House Bill 190. All those in favor signify by saying aye. All those opposed, no. Amendment has been adopted. Next amendment for our consideration, number 2 to House Bill 190. Representative Campbell, please.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I would say, given the passage of the amendment number 1, I will respectfully withdraw this one.
Amendment has been withdrawn without objection from the body. Amendment has been withdrawn. House Bill 190, having been read 2 separate times, the question is, shall the bill be read a third time? Hearing no objection, it is so ordered. Next bill for our consideration, House Bill 192.
House Bill 192, sponsored by Representative Larson, JT. Public Utilities, Wildfire Mitigation and Liability Limits, and Act relating to public utilities.
House Bill 192, having been read 2 separate times, the question is, shall the bill be read a third time? Hearing no objection, it is so ordered. Next bill for our consideration, House Bill 218.
House Bill 218, sponsored by Representative Locke. Public Utilities, stays during resolution of lawsuits, and Act relating to public utilities.
House Bill 218, having been read 2 separate times, the question is, shall the bill be read a third time? Hearing no objection, it is so ordered. Next bill for our consideration, House Bill 222.
House Bill 222, sponsored by Representative Ottman. Medical Ethics Defense Act 2, an act relating to public health and safety.
House Bill 222, having been read 2 separate times, the question is, shall the bill be read a third time? Hearing no objection, it is so ordered. Next bill for our consideration, House Bill 223.
House Bill 223, sponsored by Representative Ottman. Preventing strategic lawsuits against public participation, an act relating to civil procedure.
We have amendments. First Amendment, Representative Chestic. Please, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move second reading amendment number 1 to House Bill 223 and ask for your favorable consideration. This bill, as I said yesterday during debate, I think is a problematic bill. It has a good intent, and there's parts of it I do like, but I think it's overbroad and over aggressive in a lot of ways. So I have 2 amendments today. The first one is to delete a whole section towards the end of the bill, beginning on page 13. At the bottom, paragraphs C, continuing on, and paragraph D on the next couple pages. Those paragraphs purport to make this bill applicable outside of Wyoming. It's sort of outside of our lane. Basically, it's an attempt to create a cause of action for somebody who has been sued in another state and who raises, and there's an attempt in another state to enforce that state's anti-SLAPP law. If that activity, if that attempt is unsuccessful, you get a second bite at the apple here in Wyoming. And the litigants in the other state may not know about the Wyoming SLAPP law. There is language here that says you're supposed to notify them about that, but we're trying to impose this law over the anti-SLAPP laws of other states. So this cause of action being created says, if you fail to get that SLAPP lawsuit overturned in the other state, you can come back here and try again, which is not fair to anybody. But just the idea of having Wyoming law applicable in other states is a concept that is beyond my brain to comprehend. You can't do it. So I ask for your favorable consideration on removing the extraterritorial application sections of this bill.
Thank you, Representative. Representative Ottman, for your first time.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Just to address the concern, it does not supersede. This bill in itself is complete to cover the things it needs to cover. As far as a Wyoming citizen going out of state, when things, there is federal court. And so if those things are going to be looked at, then the applicability of this law would come into effect. So I would just say, please keep the bill whole and vote no on this amendment.
Thank you, Representative. Any other members for your first time? On the amendment, first time. Seeing no members, second time. Back
Thank
to
you,
the
Mr.
bringer,
Speaker.
Representative Chestic.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. There are due process concerns here about long-arm jurisdiction for the other litigants outside of Wyoming have contacts with this state, that they subject themselves to the jurisdiction of this state. And this seems to ignore all those due process concerns and just say that they are subject to Wyoming, even though they may not have those kind of contacts. So I once again urge an aye vote on this amendment.
Members, you are voting on second reading amendment number 1 to House Bill 223. All those in favor signify by saying aye. All those opposed, no. Amendment has not been adopted. Next amendment for consideration to House Bill 223, number 4, Representative Chestic.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move second reading amendment number 2 to House Bill 223 and ask for a favorable consideration. So this is another section of the same bill that I think is an overreach and has unintended consequences. And I'm trying to narrow it a little bit to bring it more in line with what I hope we're trying to do with this bill. And removing this section, it's removing paragraph Romanet I on page 7, line 11, 11 to 14. And the problem with this is this subparagraph, I think, impedes local governments from placing content-neutral restrictions on time, place, and manner of speech for public safety. It creates a liability for, a potential liability for those municipalities who try and enforce parade permits or demonstration permits that are content neutral and based on time, place, and manner restrictions, which are constitutional. The law is very clear that those municipalities do have that right. This seems to impede that right. It also kind of silently overrules part of the Wyoming Governmental Claims Act. Local governments are immune from lawsuits except in certain areas where we have waived sovereign immunity. And those areas deal with mechanical acts, ministerial acts, negligence in maintaining roads or parks, things like that. There's always been immunity for discretionary acts, and these kinds of restrictions, these content neutral restrictions, are discretionary acts, and they are, local governments are immune from those. This, without saying so, actually creates a new exception to the Governmental Claims Act, which I don't know is intended. And for that reason, I would also ask for an aye vote on this amendment.
Thank you, Representative. Representative Ottman, for your first time.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. What I will say is that to take that section out would do exactly what we're trying to prevent. It would give lawfare, and also individuals should be protected against the government, all of us. This is for First Amendment rights and places of petition and also speech. So we should be protected from the government. I would please vote no on the amendment. And
Any other members for their first time? First time? None? Up. Representative Connolly, for your first time.
Good morning, Mr. Speaker.
Good morning, Representative Connolly.
I just am confused on this because on this amendment, if we have someone that wants to do something in the city square and it may not agree with, say, my philosophy, then is this saying that those people that don't agree with my philosophy don't have the freedom to say what they want to say? And if that's the case and the city approved it, the city can be held liable for that? So I just need some clarification. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Connolly. Any other members for their first time? Any other members? No members? Second time? Back to the bringer. Representative, are you good, Representative Ottman? Because it'll be second time. I've got to call on him last. Excuse me?
can I, Mr. Speaker?
Yes.
I'll just wait until the representative.
You
makes
can.
his- I
He
can?
brought the amendment, so if you'd like to speak to it, Representative Hoffman,
okay.
you'll need to do that now.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for
You
that
bet.
clarification.
Thank you. Mhm.
What I will say is that this is to protect people that are being shut down and shut up against their First Amendment rights. This doesn't favor one over another. It just says that you have the right to say or to petition wherever those First Amendment rights apply, which is everywhere. And so to be shut down by legality or potential cases or charges, that's what this goes against. This is for protection of everyone. It is not discriminatory.
Thank you, Representative. Representative Chestick, for your second bite at the apple, bring us home.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I agree that if a government tries to shut down speech in a way that is not content neutral or is unreasonable, yes, you should be able to sue them. Guess what? You can. Right now, today, that would be a violation of the First Amendment, clearly. The Supreme Court has said that content neutral restrictions on time, place, and manner for public safety are not violations of the First Amendment. This bill makes those subject to suit. If I were to say, I don't like this group that is going to be demonstrating, and therefore I'm going to shut down that group by not issuing a permit, and that my reasoning for that is because I don't like the speech, that is a violation of the First Amendment that you can sue for right now. This bill doesn't change that, and this bill is not necessary. The only thing this bill does is it extends it repeals the time, place, and manner restrictions. So for that reason, I would still urge an aye vote.
Members, you are voting on second reading amendment number 2 to House Bill 223. All those in favor signify by saying aye. All those opposed, no. The amendment has not been adopted. Second reading amendment number 3, we're moving to on House Bill 223. Representative Lawley, please.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move second reading amendment number 3 for House Bill 223 and ask for your favorable consideration. Ladies and gentlemen, this is getting back to the discussion we had in committee of the whole concerning ex post facto and the concerns we had with the language of effective date and what it covered, when it went into effect and how it went into effect. So I've tried to clean that up. I put a date back in. I put the date that was originally in the bill. That's what this amendment does. We can pick almost any date, but we have to take out the pending lawsuits. And let me tell you why. Ex post facto was a really important part of the formation of our country. It was one of the things that the American patriots put in the Declaration of Independence. It's in our Constitution, the U.S. Constitution, Article 1, Section 9, Clause 3. It's an important right, an important protection. The English Crown used this idea of having laws go retroactive as a way to put people that they wanted to imprison or take some of their property. So that's not what's happening here, but I'm just trying to make the point that this is an important protection, so we need to get the language right. And I think that's what we've done here. And what we've done is basically say, if we pass this law, it will go in effect, in this case, January or July 1, 2025, and it will only affect cases filed on or after that date. And that way, we clearly sidestep any concerns about ex post facto. So again, I ask for your favorable consideration of this amendment to kind of clean that part up so that doesn't burden the bill.
Thank you, Representative. Representative Ottman, for your first time. Question? No?
You want to?
Representative Williams, for your first time.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. On and opposed to the amendment, appreciate the efforts of the bringer of the amendment, but I support the bill as it's originally written and would just urge a no vote on the amendment.
Any other members for their first time? First time? Representative Ottman? First time.
On the amendment. What I will say is Mr. Speaker, what I will say is we discussed this date in committee and it was amended and changed by that. What I will say is that we believe in First Amendment rights and they should go into effect as soon as possible. So I would just resist this amendment.
Any other members for your first time? First time? Seeing none, second time? Representative, second time to the bringer. Representative Lawley for your second time.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Again, this does not in any way weaken the bill or protect the protections of rights that some find in here, but it relates to the issue of ex post facto. The original language talked about it applying to pending cases. That is a form of ex post facto. So those lawsuits were developed and brought under a certain set of laws. And to, in the middle of those lawsuits, say this now applies is not appropriate. It is a form of ex post facto, which is a constitutional protection also. And again, honestly, I don't care what date we put in there for the effective date. It just cannot apply to pending lawsuits. So I just used the language that was in the original as far as the date to be effective. That's not the issue. It's pending lawsuits. It should only apply to lawsuits on or after the effective date. The problem with not putting an actual effective date in there is it creates confusion. Now courts have to kind of go and figure out when did it actually become effective and that kind of thing. So a date's helpful. A date's very helpful in terms of the courts understanding when this law actually goes into effect. So again, I encourage an aye vote. This does not in any way limit the bill. It does not in any way weaken the bill. It's actually, a problem is in this part of the bill, and it's a way to fix it.
Members, you're being asked to vote on second reading amendment number 3 to House Bill 223. All those in favor signify by saying aye. All those opposed, no. Division. Chairs in doubt. All those in favor, please stand. And as bad as you want to do jumping jacks right now, just hold still just for a second. You may be seated. All those opposed, please rise. On 25. Oh, sorry, on the first one. The amendment has not, you may be seated, ladies and gentlemen. The amendment has not been adopted. The vote was 25 to 26. Okay, next amendment for our consideration, number 4, Representative Lawley.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move second amendment reading number 4 for House Bill 223 and ask for favorable consideration. We've had a lot of talk about what this bill's supposed to do, but it's not really doing all of that, there's doing those things, but it's doing a lot more. And you need to really look at this and consider, how does this affect individuals? How does it affect your constituents? And so most of the examples that have been given on this bill have to do with shutting down speech and either in the moment or prior to the speech being made, shutting it down in some way. And regarding those parts of the bill and that application of the bill, I agree with. But this bill is so broad, and the limited liability provision is so strictly written and has conditions about you can't do discovery, you can't do this, you can't do that. It leaves the idea that anybody that claims that whatever they did was under a First Amendment right is now their hands are tied. And we've given too much power to one side of the position, and even procedurally within here. So the procedural benefits the defendant gets become some of them over the top, and really creates a very unfair situation. So what I've done is simply added to the definition of strategic lawsuits, it shall not include lawsuits filed for defamation. Defamation suits are basically suits for individual rights. A person's character has been defamed. So someone had the right to speak, they weren't stopped from speaking, but their speech had consequences. It affected someone, and in the Wyoming Constitution, our courts are open for people that have been harmed to seek redress. This law would really limit the ability of someone who's defamed for redress. And I don't think that's what you want to do for yourself or for any of your constituents. And so if we take defamation out of there, then it's clear that we're not trying to limit defamation suits by individuals. And the thing is, you get into the defamation issue, and defamation, let me just say this, can be done in two ways. Slander is verbal, libel is when something's written. So slander and libel are just ways you can defame someone. But if a person is a person of a public figure, is what they are called in most states, but is a public figure, you have a higher standard of malice. So you have to show intent and malice to defame. And I'm not going to argue the policy on that one, but I'm just going to tell you that if you're in that situation and you can't do discovery to show the intent of the person, they stop you from doing that. They stop the process, the open due process that we have in our civil litigation. This bill really changes that in a lot of very specific ways. So you wouldn't be able to do discovery to determine intent. And then you just are subject to a motion to dismiss because you weren't able to do discovery and show intent. So there's a lot of consequences here that affect our constituents, individual people. And I don't know that that's what the bill's aimed at, but I guess I'll hear about that. But I would really ask for your aye vote on this, because I think that we really need to look out for the rights of individuals. They aren't trying to just shut down speech. And listen, an individual seeking redress in the courts of Wyoming is not lawfare. It's just not. That phrase is being misused. I've heard it misused several times on this floor. That is not the definition of lawfare. And if we do that, then we've done something consequential and maybe unconstitutional coming to the state of Wyoming. I ask for your aye vote.
Thank you, Representative. Representative Rodriguez-Williams for your first time.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. On and opposed to the amendment, this bill provides for limited discovery for a motion made pursuant to the act. And I would also add that the good country lawyers should know this, that frivolous defamations, those lawsuits, they destroy lives. On and for the bill, on and opposed to the amendment.
Thank you, Representative. Representative Larson, first time.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And my limited experience in law and lawsuits is that's generally a two-way street, and damage can take place on both sides. And so limiting discovery is very problematic. Why wouldn't you want to have all the facts? Why wouldn't you want to be able to go as deep and as far into the crevasse that you can go to get the right information to be able to really put the appropriate information out there in front of the judge and of the jury? I think that we are trying to protect the citizens of the state as well. So great, great education, and appreciate the bringer of this amendment and hope that we'll support it.
Any other members for their first time? Representative Campbell for your first time.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. On and for the amendment and on and against the bill. Truly, to reference what was just spoken a few moments ago, the intent of this bill is to stop those frivolous lawsuits. Then bring a bill that says all of our, legal fees and expenses will be automatically covered. That does it. So on and very much in favor of this amendment, because this bill, as it reads, will do far more damage than good.
Representative Lucas for your first time.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I am against this amendment, but I am for this bill. Page 10, starting with line 10, shows 3 different ways going down that page that discovery is allowed. I just wanted to point that out because we have not heard exactly that information. Testimony in the committee showed that this law, when it's been enacted in other states, has not resulted in defamation lawsuits being stopped. Real defamation is real defamation. Frivolous lies are frivolous lies. Let's not confuse the two. Thank you.
Any other representatives for their first time? First time? Seeing Representative Guggenmoss, first time.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Reading from that bill on page 10, it was covered a little bit before me. Upon showing that information necessary to support or oppose the motion to dismiss is in the possession of another person and is not reasonably available without discovery, the court shall allow limited discovery for purposes of obtaining that information for purposes of this subsection. A separate motion shall be filed to seek limited discovery until this subsection and must be accompanied by an affidavit signed under penalty of perjury. The motion for limited discovery shall include with specificity the discovery requested, the reason the discovery is necessary, and why the information cannot be obtained in any other way. Thank you.
Representative Thayer for your first time.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Again, referring to page 10, paragraph D, small I and double I, it does talk, but the words limited in paragraph D, limited and limited. My concern is limited discovery for our constitutional rights.
Any other member for their first time? First time. Seeing none, second time. Speaking second time to amendment number 4, 223. Seeing none, for the second time, Representative Ottman, are you going for your second time?
Yes, Mr. Speaker, thank you very much. I would just say that this is not to limit anyone's speech.
Actually, Representative Ottman, you did not speak to the first time. I will not be able to
Oh.
let you speak to the second time. So I'm sorry. That was my mistake. I just re-looked at my list here and I don't have you on there. I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Representative Lawley, any other members for the second time? Here's who I have. I have Representative Williams, Rodriguez Williams, I have Representative Lloyd Larson, Representative Campbell, Lucas, Guggenmoss, and Thayer. Any others on that list? Nobody? Okay, Representative Lawley, please, second time.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you for the discussion. It was really helpful. Yes, there's such a thing as frivolous lawsuits, and the system already deals with that. Frivolous, the idea of frivolous is actually a factual determination by a court. And so within a lawsuit, when it's brought, what happens is a defendant may countersue for frivolous lawsuit or bring that up at the end and the proceedings, and they can get attorney's fees and costs and things like that. So the system already works concerning frivolous lawsuits. We have frivolous lawsuits in every area of the law. So if this is meant to stop frivolous lawsuits, it's a way big overreach. So again, that process already exists. It's a finding of fact and remedies already exist. For those of you that read from the bill, I really appreciate it because they kept using that term, limited discovery. And the provision that was read by my good friend from near the Wind Rivers, basically what he was reading to you was the fact that a plaintiff would have to get permission from the court, file a motion and convince the court they had a right to discovery. That's part of what this bill does that's so troubling to me. It completely sets a whole new set of civil procedures for these lawsuits that are limiting greatly the rights of plaintiffs. And I think because of that, it's going to have some constitutional issues in Wyoming where we have open courts. And so we need to think about this. These are our constituents that we're basically severely limiting their right to prosecute a case for defamation. So again, I ask for you to vote aye on this amendment. Thank you.
Representative, you're being asked to make a decision on second reading amendment number 4 to House Bill 223. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, no. No. The amendment has not been adopted. Okay. Amendment number 4, and I think that completes it. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, let me finish this one statement, and then I'll be right to you, Representative. House Bill 223, having been read 2 separate times, the question is, shall the bill be read a third time? Hearing no objection, it is so ordered. Representative Angelos, please.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Privilege of the floor.
Please.
Mr. Speaker, I'd like to have the body look up to the South Gallery. I think I got that right. And we have a group of seniors from Thunder Basin High School, and you guys can all stand up there. And they are, their teachers, Ms. Schlodweiler and Ms. Mancini brought their class down to observe the legislature. We don't often get students from Gillette down here because it's a quick trip. But Schlod, if she's back there, that is our endearing term for her, was my own girls' teacher. And I think any of you who have her know she's a pretty tough class, isn't she? She's an excellent teacher. We're excited for you guys to be here, and welcome to the House.
Coal Country seniors, welcome to the House. I think it's so, hey, now do me a favor, just for my own indulgence, and because I can actually feel my toes now that I've stood up and let the blood flow. You guys stand up again. Now those are seniors. Now look what we got over here. Little seniors. If you guys would stand up, is that not adorable? Look at there. You guys can look across to the south and see how tall you could potentially get. So kind of a neat idea. All right, well, thanks you. And we're going to find out who those young folks on the North Gallery are here momentarily. Okay, thank you, Representative. And Representative Sherwood, please.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Privilege of the floor.
By all means.
Thank you. So depending on what time we get out this evening, I want to invite you to a journey through Wyoming's photographic history. So over here at the State Museum tonight, starting at 6:30, there's an opening reception. And to give you a bit of a teaser, there's a photograph in this collection that was used on a Rolling Stones album cover. So check it out.
Thank you, Representative Sherwood. Next bill for our consideration, House Bill 224.
House Bill 224 is sponsored by Representative Banks, prohibiting foreign adversary property ownership, an act relating to property.
House Bill 224, having been read two separate times, the question is, shall the bill be read a third time? Hearing no objection, it is so ordered. Next bill for our consideration, House Bill 246.
House Bill 246, sponsored by Representative Stivar, Wyoming Wednesday, an act relating to legal time and holidays.
House Bill 246, having been read two separate times, the question is, shall the bill be read a third time? Hearing no objection, it is so ordered. Okay, do you want to go ahead and knock her up right now? Mr. Majority Floor Leader.
Mr. Speaker, thank you. I move that the House stand in recess until 2 p.m.
You have heard the motion of the Majority Floor Leader. All those in favor signify by saying aye. All those opposed, no. Motion is carried. The House will stand in recess until 2 p.m. Committee announcements.
Mr. Speaker, I feel like this House is a little hungover from a late night last night, but hopefully we can get some food in us and get moving. Your committee number 8, Transportation, Highways, Military Affairs, will meet in 15 minutes down in PMR. I can't remember, is it 5 or 3? Whatever the one that he's not in, we'll be meeting there to hear Senate File 25, 32, and 33.
If you see Representative Byron, you're not in the right meeting room. Representative Byron.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My good Chairman of Transportation, that's three for that previous announcement. Committee number 6, Travel, Recreation, Wildlife, Culture Resource, meet in 15 minutes in room 5 and online to hear Senate Joint Resolution 3, Senate File 42, and Senate File 149, 1215 committee.
Thank you, Representative. Representative Brown, before you blast off, I need to chat with you for one quick second. Representative Knapp, are you? Yes, please.
Mr. Speaker, your number 7 corporations will meet tomorrow upon noon recess to hear Senate File 78 engrossed, Senate Files 98, and Senate File 127 engrossed.
Thank you, Chairman Knapp. Chairman Heiner, please.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Your committee number 9, Minerals, will meet tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. because due to the governor's prayer breakfast. We will meet at 8 a.m. to hear Senate File 15, Senate File 16, and Senate File 20.
Thank you, Chairman. Any other members? Any other committee announcements? Seeing committee number 2, Chairman Bear.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Your committee number 2, Appropriations, will meet upon noon recess tomorrow to discuss Senate File 40, zoning protest petition amendments.
Thank you, Chairman. Any others? That's it? All right. We will be back here, reconvene in 2 p.m.